Hey y'all, welcome back to the party. It is me, your girl BrittReacts, and today we're going to react to my favorite intellectual, if you will. This is Jordan Peterson, and he has a message to Elon Musk.
Hello everybody. I'm trying this as an experiment in communication, both public and private. There are some things that I would like to draw to Mr. Elon Musk's attention.
Oh.
I interviewed him a while back on my podcast. That was primarily released on X, but also more broadly. We've met a couple of times. I've been watching what he's been doing, like everyone in the world has been. And I'm also interested in his reaction to the situation with Tommy Robinson. I interviewed Tommy last year twice with my wife, and I've been following his travails in the UK diligently. I just spoke with Ezra Levant, who runs Rebel News, this troublemaking, rabble-rousing media organization, alternative media organization in Canada. Ezra and I have interacted with each other for about 10 years. He was an early...
I'm going to pause right there because I Googled Tommy Robinson, whose name is Stephen Christopher Yaxley Lennon. Better known as Tommy Robinson, is a British anti-Islam campaigner and one of the UK's most prominent far-right activists. Since the 28th of October 2024, he has been serving an 18-month prison sentence for contempt of court. Okay, how did we get here? So, literally a couple days ago, I reacted to the SNL skit with reenacting the meeting between President Trump and President Zelensky of the Ukraine. And Elon showed up in the skit, and, you know, I made light and fun of the fact that I do feel like, and I think I said in another video, it feels as if Elon is doing some running of some shows. And so someone commented that they'd love to see my take on this. I'm going to be very honest with you guys. You guys know I never pretend to be this super well-versed political person. It is always super controversial for some of you when I do speak. But I am just a common woman, entrepreneur, mother, wife. And what goes on in the world does matter to me, but I don't overwhelm myself with a lot of it, because I can find myself extremely overwhelmed. And I think I've been very clear here on this channel that I don't have a side. I don't think anyone is right. I can agree with certain topics and certain, you know, arguments and certain bills and laws and all those things, but I don't err on the side of anyone, because I don't agree with anyone. I think politics has done a number on our government, if you understand what I'm saying. I think the government was meant to be in place to protect the people, but the politics of it all has done a number on that. And so I just like to watch these videos with you guys to learn from the videos, to learn perspective, to learn information, but I also love to learn from you guys in the comments. So with that being said, feel free to educate and do so kindly. There's no need for anyone to be unkind in my comments. I don't like it. Don't do it. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know how we got here. And I do think, I think Jordan Peterson is super controversial. You guys have your takes on him, but at the very least, I just think the man is very intellectual. The way he's able to break things down is helpful to me. And he presents ideas, sides, thoughts, topics I otherwise would have no honest to goodness detail on. All right? Okay.
interacted with each other for about 10 years. He was an early advocate of mine when all hell broke loose around me at the university, and we've kept in touch ever since. In any case, Ezra Levant also hired Tommy Robinson as a journalist a few years ago and knows him quite well. brought him to Canada relatively recently, where he was arrested at exactly the time that I was supposed to interview him. So that was another interesting overlap. Anyways, when I talked to Ezra Levant, we discussed Tommy, and he's in solitary confinement in a maximum security prison in the UK. And he's not allowed any visitors who have a social media following, whatever that means, given that virtually everybody has at least some social media following now. And this essentially means that he'll spend 9 months in solitary for what's a civil offense. And it's been 4, and that's a long time. And his guest slots aren't filled, partly because of these restrictions. I asked Ezra, too, if Tommy was in solitary at his own request, because the prison is a dangerous place, because it's a maximum security prison.
Okay. Why is he in a max? If he is in prison for contempt of court, which means essentially you broke a rule in court, you know, like if you keep talking over the judge will say, I'll hold you in contempt. This is me telling you my understanding of it. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially it is you breaking a rule and being punished for it, but it's not a federal crime. It is a civil crime. Why would he need to be in a maximum security prison in solitary and has a very small window and opportunity to have visitors? It's bigger than that, isn't it? Okay.
Prison is a dangerous place because it's a maximum security prison, and it's full of the sort of people who might not approve of Tommy Robinson, let's put it that way.
Right.
And Ezra told me that Tommy hadn't requested to be isolated in this manner, that he was willing to take his chances in the general population. So that's what I know about that. In any case, he's got 5 more months in solitary, 22 hours a day. When I interviewed him, he'd expressed some real concerns about his ability to maintain his psychological integrity under such conditions. You know, we use solitary confinement as a punishment sufficiently brutal to deter even psychopaths who are about as non-social as you can possibly imagine. And so depriving people of social contact is, I think it's cruel and unusual punishment, and is something that perhaps should never be used, but if it's used, should be used, let's say, very judiciously. And I think that he's being subjected to cruel and unusual punishment. And if that produces fatal consequences, which is a possibility, that doesn't bode well for the general stability of the UK, you might say. And it's not a risk that should be taken. And so
I am going to put myself out there, and this is just utter ignorance. I did not know that the UK also had kind of this far right, far left warfare, if you will. I had no idea. Who is it, in, I guess, your opinion, or in the general public's opinion, that is trying to silence him, and why? And what does this have to do with Elon Musk? I'm sure Jordan's going to tell me, but I want y'all to tell me first.
I want to draw everyone's attention to the plight of Tommy Robinson, regardless of what you think of him and what he's done, say, as a whistleblower on the gang side. His punishment is exceptionally heavy-handed, and it isn't at all obvious to me that it's wise. It's also not obvious to me that he'll make it through 9 months of this intact. And Ezra was concerned for the same reasons. So that's that. So there's a second issue that I'd like to draw your attention to, Mr. Musk, but also public attention.
Oh, he was drawing Elon's attention to that. But why? Why do we need Elon's? Y'all, let me know. Let me know. Okay.
I'd like to draw your attention to, Mr. Musk, but also public attention to. I've been watching your line-by-line analysis of budgetary expenditures at the federal level, and I know, or I think I know, that part of this process, part of the reason you're engaged in this is because you're not happy, you might say, with what Gad Saad has described as the woke mind virus. And you've retweeted Gad a fair bit, and I know you're familiar with his work. Now, I also know, or think I know, that part of the reason that you're unhappy is because of what happened with your son, which you discussed on my podcast and made public. And I noticed during that conversation that to say you were unhappy about what had happened and the advice you got about suicide risk, for example, on the part of children with gender dysphoria was false, despicably false and dangerous, and that you not only haven't recovered from that, but have taken it with all due seriousness. And so it seems to me that your efforts on behalf of investigating the funding that is being shuttled to various agencies.
Okay, I'm Googling what he could potentially be talking about. What happened with his son? Everything that's coming up is about the young one that was just in the Oval Office not too long ago. Okay, but I did find, here's a quote. I lost my son, essentially. They call it dead naming for a reason. The reason it's called dead naming is because your son is dead. My son Xavier is dead, killed by the woke mind virus. So he's saying figuratively that his son was unalived after he was put on puberty blockers. So his son, he has a son, one of his 15 children. Yes, as of a few days ago, it's 15 of them. He was, I guess, allowed to transition. Okay, here we go. The child in question is his transgender daughter, Vivian Wilson. It says she speaks in first interview. See, I would have never known about this. Musk's daughter told NBC News that Musk wasn't tricked into allowing her to receive trans-related medical treatment. Okay. I've heard this before. I have a lot of friends who are just different from me, but in the LBGTQ plus TIA, hope I said that right, community. And one of my closest friends has 3 nephews, and they're all pretty close in age. And he jokes with his sister all the time, like, at least one of them is gonna be, And so I feel, it is the world that we live in this day and age. And I think my whole argument is truly to leave it out of the school system and leave it in the parents' hands and leave it out of anyone's hands, essentially, until these children are old enough to make the decisions for themselves and have enough emotional intelligence and just information to make these decisions. I don't think we should be talking about any type of gender, sex identification in school. I think you leave that to the household. I don't believe in leaving your children ignorant in the world that we live in. I believe you have appropriate conversations with your children as they grow and they get into higher levels of education in different schools, because you can't control what they're learning when they leave your house. But you can't control how they receive it and if they know enough before someone else introduces the concept to them. I have never heard the phrase woke, what was it? Woke. Hold on, I want to find it because I thought that was also interesting. Dang it, I just lost the whole freaking page. Woke mind virus, I think it was, which I think is, the title speaks for itself. It's just, anyone with the quote unquote woke agenda that wants to progress our nation in very untraditional, non-conservative ways. Elon feels it is a virus. It is infectious. Yeah, I don't know. What I do know is I love Jordan's suit, but I specifically love this tie. He's got camels and like tents on his. Who's his stylist? All right, back to you.
That is being shuttled to various agencies and organizations around the world who push the woke progressive agenda are admirable and useful, and hopefully they will be salutary. But I think there's something very important that you're missing, maybe crucially important. You may know or may not, something I discovered partly from talking to the Republican Governors Treasuries Association,
Okay.
but also from going to the Republican governors' meetings and talking to a variety of Republican governors. 50% of the state budgets in the U.S. are devoted to K through 12 education. All the teachers in the K through 12 education system are products of the faculties of education, which I think are among the most, if not the most, ideologically corrupt and incompetent of all the university disciplines. They're major contributors to the dominance of woke culture in the U.S., particularly in the U.S., but also across the West. They attract low-quality students, by and large, and they do terrible research. One example of that, for example, was that the faculties of
That's a hot
education, it was
take.
faculties of education who came up with the idea of whole word learning, which was a complete bloody catastrophe, foregoing the utility of the phonetic alphabet, which is one of the major inventions of humankind.
I want you to know that I have a 10-year-old who is struggling deeply because of this. And I didn't really understand the concept or know the concept or the difference. Honestly, I just know how I was taught versus how, the kids are taught nowadays. There is a gross amount of children being taught to read in this way. And it is not serving these babies. It's not serving them. It's making things too hard too soon, if you ask me. And so I find myself, a lot of you might not know this, but I do homeschool her this year. This is my first time homeschooling her. I'm finding myself having to undo a lot just to get her to where she needs to be. And that's no shade or negativity towards teachers. Because let me tell you something, after this one stint of homeschooling, I never want to do it again. I don't know how y'all do it. And with 18 to 22 of somebody else's children in your classroom, God bless you. But the system, the education system has just failed our children. And I don't know, I genuinely would love to hear you guys in the comments explain to me why. Why is this happening? Is it money motivated? What is the reason to take education and just flip it on its head? So that even the parents don't know how to help their children at home. What is the reason? Why are we doing this? It is heartbreaking and infuriating. And in all honesty, I wish I would have understood this sooner so that I could have helped my child sooner. And I can't even imagine parents who, they're just trusting, you're sending your kids to school, you're just trusting what they're learning at school. And it's like,
Phonetic.
I think I don't think it's a wrong thing to look into budgets and where the money in the country is going. I don't know if I agree or understand the true motivation behind it, but different conversation, different day, different video. But I don't think it's a bad thing to look into these budgets to then understand where the money's going, where the money should be going, and how we can help these children get back on track. Because these post-COVID babies, y'all, I joke around in these Gen Z videos and how they don't even know how to tell the freaking time on an analog clock. But that is really scary. They don't know and understand who was in the Mexican-American War. I'm teaching my 4th grader right now about the Mexican-American War. These are senior level high schoolers that don't even know who fought in the Mexican-American
Learning, which was a complete bloody catastrophe, foregoing the utility of the phonetic alphabet, which is one of the major
crazy.
inventions of humankind, replacing that with the proposition that you should teach children how to read the same way expert readers read, which was a preposterous theory to begin with, and which had devastating consequences. And the faculties of education pushed multiple intelligence theory, which is a complete crock of nonsense. They pushed self-esteem training, which can't be done and produces narcissists. They cloak their left-wing ideological propagandizing in social, emotional learning strategies, et cetera, et cetera. The faculties of education are an unmitigated disaster. They produce the teachers who have a hammerlock on 50% of the state budgets. They're spending $25,000 a year, thereabouts, per student, when private organizations are capable of providing a higher quality education at 1/10 that cost.
Wow.
The Republicans, conservatives in general, and classic liberals have been completely asleep at the wheel for 60 years as the faculties of education have distributed the demoralizing progressive agenda to the children of everyone, liberal, conservative, and progressive alike, through the K through 12 system. And they control 50% of the state budgets. There's not a chance that the progressive agenda is going to be undermined and replaced as long as the faculties of education have a hammerlock on half the state budgets and all the education of all children. So what's the best move? Well,
That's mind-blowing.
there may be little you can do federally. I don't know the policy details well enough to opine in that regard, but in my opinion, the faculties of education should be stripped of their monopoly on teacher certification. There's
The monopoly, the money of it all. If I'm to understand correctly, essentially, Jordan Peterson is saying that instead of just having the fundamental, the foundational things that we've always learned in school, arithmetic, writing, history, science and social studies, we're now injecting emotional, fairness and all these things that, in my opinion, have no place in school, right? Yes, be kind, be fair, all the things that we teach our children at home, we should be teaching our children. But in the schoolhouse, there should be no space for anything other than books. You know what I mean? The social aspect of school is physically going to school with other people. I don't believe we should be learning anything other than what we need to know education. Even then, if we go on and really argue about that, why aren't we teaching our children how to balance their budgets and, truly run a life or a household, but whatever. So yeah, I agree. If what it would take to change that is dismantling these facilities, like he's saying, then I think I would be on board for that, based off of what Jordan is saying. Again, if I'm being 100% transparent, I was very hands-off in my daughter's education. And, I think it was one of the bright spots about COVID is that it illuminated a lot of the issues and highlighted just how bad everything was. And so now I feel like I'm fully in and fully understanding. And so, yeah, if breaking down and disintegrating these people's budgets is what's going to get the change, let's do it. Let's do it. I don't know about, dismantling the Department of Education. I've watched a few videos on the channel and reacted, and I understand it enough. I don't know if I think we should dismantle it or just rebuild it and give it a true purpose for good. If it has truly been just so bad all these years, but something has got to change, or the next 5 generations are going to run us right into the ground more than some of these ancient dinosaurs are doing.
Education should be stripped of their monopoly on teacher certification. There's no evidence whatsoever that they've produced that the teachers that they purport to educate have been educated in a manner that makes them effective teachers, either because of the way they were selected as students or the way that they're trained and educated as teachers. And so there's no defeating the woke mind virus without breaking the hammerlock of the faculties of education on teacher certification. And so, anyways, those are two issues that I've been considering since we had our discussion. And I know that you're as busy as any human being can possibly be, but I know that these two issues are close to your heart, and I thought I'd throw my 2 cents in for what it's worth. And while doing, inform everybody else about my thoughts on the matter and the way forward that I think might be most appropriate. Thanks very much for your time and attention.
I love that how, like, hold on. I love how confident Jordan was that he knows Elon is watching this, has watched it, will watch it. He's like, I'm talking directly to you. If you're not Elon Musk, exit this video. All right. This says, on a recent trip to London, Tammy Peterson, Jordan's wife, attempted to visit Tommy Robinson in prison.
I've come out to Wood Hill Prison to see Tommy Robinson today. I was told that I could visit him at 2:30 this afternoon, but the prison authorities have decided that they're not ready for me to go inside. I've been following him for 3 years as he follows the gang rapists because I was concerned for the British young women who were being raped. And more recently, as a journalist, he covered a school playground scuffle that had become an international scandal. After that, he made a documentary trying to understand what happened in that scenario. That school is now closed, and everyone has departed from their jobs. There was so much corruption and payoff and secrecy that this documentary was not supposed to be shown. But Tommy Robinson felt compelled to show it, to tell the truth. Now he has been charged with contempt of court, and he made himself...
What is going on? The information overload. What is going on in the UK? I mean, not that I have any right to say that as an American, because y'all looking at us to like, what y'all got going on? But what? I guess I got the answer to my question to like why they're trying to silence him. Okay.
Now he has been charged with contempt of court, and he made himself available to the courts to charge him and to put him in jail. They have him held in solitary confinement here. He's hesitant to eat from the cafeteria because there's a large Muslim population here, and he feels that he may be poisoned. And now he's getting very thin. Some Danish journalists came here and visited him and saw that he's lost a lot of weight. So he's only eating canned tuna, which he can't survive on for months. There's not enough fat in that food to nourish his brain and his heart. And so I suggest to people, if they come in, they can bring him something like pepperoni sticks or a kind of carnivore snack that is packaged, that has proper animal fat to nourish and sustain him. It's going to be on our conscience if he dies in there. It should be on our conscience now. He's in here for 9 months. He's been in here for 4 months so far for a simple civic charge. And they put him in maximum security. It's not right.
Wow. Well, this is my first time hearing this story, so you guys talk to me in the comments. Wow. There it is, folks. Thanks for watching. I hope you have the day you deserve. Bye.